Hey everybody, welcome to Story Time, or what's starting to become in my head, Roadside Conversations with TV Bond. I'm not on the side of the road though. Sometimes I am. Not right now. So I guess I'll go with Roadside Conversations anyway, just because my brain just wants that. Anyway, we're not gonna defeat the brain. Sometimes it's just not worth it. So first off, let's get some little house things out. Please, pretty please, like, subscribe, follow me, all those good things. Go to my website, have a great time, search me out, see what I'm about. Please, at a minimum, like and subscribe, because it means a lot to me. It helps people find me, and I appreciate it greatly. I better stop like. Okay. Seriously, I do feel this way. Thank you. I appreciate you. I really do. And today, we're going to talk about why the 757. First, what is the 757? It's the area code for the area that I live in. I live in this interesting area that's kind of metropolis-like, but it's still independent cities. We call it the 7 cities, the 757, Hampton Roads. Some people call it Tidewater, coastal Virginia, all of those things, but I live at the southeast quarter of Virginia. So we have a lot of interesting terrain here. So you can be urban, you can be rural, you can be suburban, suburb. You can have a lot of different terrain. And because of that, that's one reason. Also, too, this is a very historic area. We've got Jamestown, we got Williamsburg over here, and we have Craddock and some other places, and of course, historic Norfolk, historic Suffolk. And we've been around for almost ever. Well, let's not say forever. The parts that people care about the most, I guess. We've been around since the troubled time in which some people kicked other people off the spot and some people got forced over here. Anyway, so we've been here for a minute. We got a lot of history, and this area is not afraid to show that. So we have, especially in Portsmouth, where I hail from, I live, they have the most interesting things. Like every time you go downtown, there's always some cosplayer walking around like a 1776. And so you get like Father Christmas, like 3 of them, different types. Or you'll have someone who is a gentleman. Sometimes you see somebody from like 1800s. And it's not all freaky and weird. It's just interesting. We love the cosplay around here. We'll cosplay as historical figures. We'll cosplay as like anime folk. So yeah, we have a good time around this spot. Now, is everybody like that? No. But it's not that weird. That's all I got to say about that. But the reason why I like this area is because I write fantasy romance, primarily. I do write some contemporary. But in fantasy romance, I thought it would be fun for my urban fantasy stuff to write in this area where I think supernatural folk could hide in plain sight and it not be that strange, and they could put their world alongside the real world. So I have a supernatural chamber of commerce. I have supernaturally owned businesses and things of that nature. And my supernatural folk have their own culture. They have the supernatural culture, and they also observe natural culture. They have supernatural businesses. They have like a club. I have Masquerade the Club, which you see in Hunter's Creed, is ran by Tyrion Essex. He's the vampire coven lord. And they have areas where supernaturals can unwind and do what they do. They have common areas where they have indoctrinated naturals, so that's the regular folk are, and they can still, everybody can just mingle. It's kind of like an intermingling. And then we also have areas where the world is not knowing what's going on, and so we have to kind of put your mask on, which is very much like life. You can't always bring your whole self to every single thing. We'd like to, but everyone is not always accepting. You can take that however you will. I'm not trying to have any agenda. This is real. Especially if you're a person who's like annoying, you might have to just put away some of your annoying habits for a little bit while you're in common company, and then when you're by yourself or with people who don't find that whatever it is annoying, you just go do that. I mean, it is what it is. And then sometimes you just gotta, you know, let your hair down. So it depends. Anyway, so I enjoy and I have a lot of pride for this area because there's a lot of interesting things that happen, and I put those things into my books. So one of my favorites is in King of Wishful Thinking. I actually have a supernatural, it's a supernatural dating agency first. And it's not just King of Wishful Thinking, it's the whole series. It's called Paris in Springtime. They have 100% guarantee that they will find you your match. And they will do whatever it takes in order to get that. And we will talk about that another time. But in King of Wishful Thinking, which was one of the first longer stories of that series, what I did was I had a rabbit shifter with a restaurant called the Veggie Table. Because I feel like that kind of exists in Virginia Beach. It's interesting enough for something like that. I'm just saying. And so she has her restaurant, and she goes and she makes vegan meals, and she meets her forever, and he has a cabinet shop, craft store, where he makes cabinets, decks, and things of that nature, and they have that 9 to 5, but they also have that supernatural aspect. Again, she's a shifter, so she's a rabbit shifter, and she's gardening and doing her things and seeing things from a rabbit's eye. He is a djinn, and so he's granting wishes and things of that nature, and then they're part of the supernatural Chamber of Commerce, and so they're participating in that. And I have supernatural parties as well. So that allowed me to like take some things to the nth degree. And I try to have a consistency with these stories so that when you do read the story, you're like, okay, yes, Virginia Beach, that has this part here, and this couple's here, and this business is here, and now I'm going to go here to this other area. And no, you don't have to read them all in order, but it kind of helps. Not necessarily read in order that you read them all. It's kind of like knowing all the tea of everything. But the 757, just this area, I think if I had put Paris in Springtime someplace else, I don't know if it would still be the same. Or at least I wouldn't have as many locales as I do, and the ambiance would just be different. I think some stories would still have a similar ambiance, but I try to travel through the city sometimes, like with Ursa Major, which is my mermaid story, where I give a certain sea witch a different ending and opportunity. She moves to Norfolk. If you ever come to Norfolk, we have this drifting mermaids all over the place, and all of them are designed differently. I'm trying to say that my character invented that to let everyone know that that's a safe space for mermaids. And it just wouldn't be the same. And so I actually am taking the area that I know and kind of putting my own spin on it. So I'm actually bringing some of the actual magic of this area, the ambiance and the charm, to fantasy. Hope you enjoyed that little story.